Well, hey folks, today I'm going to show you something that happened that I've not heard a lot of people talking about online. In fact, ever, I don't think. There's already been an attempt to rebuild the Third Temple. Now that may surprise some people, but the details around this are very interesting indeed, and I'm going to show you over the next few moments some of the things that took place in Jerusalem when there was an attempt to build a third temple. And the reason I bring this up is partly to show that there really is nothing new under the sun, and that the Bible is accurate, and also that God is in control. No matter what happens in this world, even if it seems chaotic, God is sovereign over everything. So when Jesus walked the earth, he prophesied that the second temple, in all its grandiosity and all its splendor, would be destroyed, and not a single stone would be left upon another. And of course this seemed unbelievable to the religious leaders that were around him, but as with all of the prophecies of Jesus, it came to pass. And in 70 AD, the temple was surrounded by a mighty Roman army, and it was brought down and destroyed along with most of Jerusalem. Now fast forward 100 years later, and Rome rebuilt Jerusalem as a Roman colony in which they banned the Jews from entering the city. They changed the name to Aelia Capitolina, dedicated to the cult of Jupiter, and as a result, on the Temple Mount, a temple was built in honor and worship of this false deity, Jupiter. Fast forward a bit further, and the Roman Emperor Constantine comes onto the scene, and he quote-unquote Christianizes the Roman Empire, and this brings an end to the persecution of Christians there. And this is where our story begins. Because after Constantine, in the year 331 AD, we have an emperor named Julian. Roman Emperor Julian. He was a nephew of Constantine, and Julian, although he'd been brought up in that Christian quote-unquote environment, he rejected Christianity and wanted the Roman Empire under his watch to go back to paganism. So what did he do? He began to stop Christians being able to serve in key governmental positions. He began to bring back persecution of Christians in a soft way to begin with. And his goal was to reverse any Christian influence on the Roman Empire, so much so that he's remembered as Julian the Apostate. People that are anti-Christian today, like some of these heavy metal bands that are very satanic, you'll see some of them portraying this Julian the Apostate, this emperor, who to them is some kind of hero because he went against Christians and went against Christianity. And in fact, this emperor has been likened to a typology of an antichrist, because actually if you look at the different things associated with him, once again as this pattern, as this typology, you can see that a number of things that he did showed that same similar set of characteristics that is attributed to that type of Antichrist beast figure. And I hope as we talk about this story, you'll see some more of those parallels. He declared freedom of religion across the empire and began to rebuild the old pagan shrines and restore their priests. He began to take away benefits that Christian had received, and he also began to align himself with the Jews, as he thought that would be an effective way to come against Christianity. Not that he was really on the side of the Jewish religion, by the way. He was a pagan. But historians have said this was likely because he wanted to use the Jewish religion as a means by which to destroy Christianity, and that if it had got his way, he may well have also come into conflict with the Jews themselves. So the next thing that Julian the Apostate did was he wanted to prove Jesus' prophecy about the destruction of the temple wrong. Because in his mind, if he could prove to the Christians that the evidence of Jesus' divinity was false, he would go a long way in destroying the faith of Christians at that time. So what did Julian do? He decided, as the Roman emperor, he wanted to build the third temple. So, in the spring of the year 363 AD, Emperor Julian hired a man to oversee the building of the third temple. So these workers, they came onto the Temple Mount in Jerusalem and began trying to start building the third temple in 363 AD. Now what happened next is very interesting. They began to remove the ruins of a former building. They dug up the ground and cleared away its foundation. And according to an account, this is what happened next. On the following day, when they were about to lay the first foundation of this third temple, a great earthquake occurred. Through the violent agitation of the earth, stones were thrown up from the depths, by which those of the Jews who were engaged in the work were wounded, as were those who were merely looking on. The workmen who survived, again, returned to the task, partly because such was the edict of the emperor, and partly because they were themselves interested in the undertaking. They had scarcely returned to rebuilding the temple when fire burst suddenly from the foundations of the temple and consumed several of the workmen. Here's another one. Ammianus Marcellinus, a historian who was a Roman in the Roman Empire. Terrifying balls of flame kept bursting forth near the foundations of the temple, and made the place inaccessible to the workmen, some of whom were burned to death. And since in this way the element persistently repelled them, the enterprise halted. So these guys were setting about rebuilding this temple on the Temple Mount under the instruction of this anti-Christian emperor. And as the story goes, they clear out this former building that was there before and destroyed, and then they begin to try and lay the foundations and work on the new temple on the Temple Mount, and all these things begin to happen. And there was an earthquake in Galilee, which was a really severe one, in the year 363, which was the same year this happened. It says, the Galilee earthquake of 363 was a pair of severe earthquakes that shook the Galilee and nearby regions on May 18th and 19th. Very destructive earthquake that happened. And you can see here these images of this terrifying earthquake that happened in the year 363 in Galilee and its neighbouring regions. The early Christian writers of the time interpreted this event as the hand of God, quote, or even the pointing finger of God, descending to punish the arrogant emperor and suppress the hopes of the Jews to rebuild the temple. And you can see also here there's been archaeological findings which have shed light on the massive earthquake in 363 in Galilee, and that's something that they've found there in Israel. And there's various historical quotations about this in both Christian and non-Christian sources. Listen to this one. Julian, who had made his soul a home of destroying demons, went his corybantic way, ever raging against true religion. He accordingly now armed the Jews too against the believers in Christ. He began by inquiring of some whom he got together, why, though their law imposed on them the duty of sacrifices, they offered none, wanting them to rebuild the temple. On their reply that their worship was limited to one particular spot, this enemy of God immediately gave directions for the re-erection of the destroyed temple, supposing in his vanity that he could falsify the prediction of the Lord, of which in reality he exhibited the truth. The Jews heard his words with delight and made known his orders to their countrymen throughout the world. They came with haste from all directions, contributing alike money and enthusiasm for the work, and the emperor made all the provisions he could. And then they did this. They destroyed, moreover, the remains of the former construction, with the intention of building everything up afresh. But when they had got together thousands of bushels of chalk and lime, of a sudden a violent gale blew, and storms, tempests, and whirlwinds scattered everything far and wide. They still went on in their madness, nor were they brought to their senses by the divine long-suffering. Then first came a great earthquake, fit to strike terror into the hearts of men, quite ignorant of God's dealings. And when still they were not awed, fire running from the excavated foundations burnt up most of the diggers, and put the rest to flight. Moreover, when a large number of men were sleeping at night in an adjacent building, it suddenly fell down, roof and all, and crushed the whole of them. When God's enemies saw these things, in terror at the heaven-sent plagues, they fled and made their way home, confessing the Godhead of him who had been crucified by their fathers. Julian heard of these events, for they were repeated by everyone, but like Pharaoh, he hardened his heart. Well, the Christians believed that it was divine intervention, that at least sent the earthquake and caused those things to happen, putting a stop to this Roman emperor working with the Jews, using them for his purposes, and his reign as emperor, Julian the Apostate, was cut short when he perished in battle. I think it was in Persia, and he only reigned for a short while. So in terms of why that happened, we don't know for sure. Obviously the Christians have believed that that was divine intervention, and it may have been. That was the common view among Christian historians of the time. And it also says here, sabotage is a possibility, as is an accidental fire. But the point is the attempt was thwarted. It didn't work. And the key thing for me to see here is that you have another typology, essentially, of an antichrist figure who is against Christians, is against Christ, the only other previous attempt to rebuild the third temple. Everything happens on God's timing. God is sovereign. Only what he allows will happen. And judgment will come when it's his will that it comes about. So we know that we're in good hands, strong hands, sovereign hands, and we can clearly see throughout these historical events that the Bible is correct.